I might point out this, I guess, also includes the category of Kepler, Copernicus, Tycho Brahe, Galileo, and Newton. Now, if you don't believe me that they are all practicing astrologers, read it in their own words. Go to the library where they tell you that astrology is a true science. My background is not Christianity, it's science. And
if your background is science, how do you explain the fact that for 1,500 years the astrologers were casting their horoscopes based on a geocentric universe of Ptolemy and nothing to do with the heliocentric universe which Copernicus demolished with one paper?
Well,
now, if you're a scientist, you know perfectly well that Copernicus annihilated...
Well,
wait a minute. If you're a scientist, you know that Copernicus demolished Ptolemy, didn't he?
No, he actually, well, the Greeks,
flat Earth.
No, the Greeks were quite aware that the sun was the center of the solar system. Ptolemy changed that for a while. All Copernicus did was bring that back. If you read that particular essay that Copernicus wrote, you'll find that he writes a preface to the Pope in that, saying that this is not my idea.
Wait a minute, are you saying that their views were correct then, before Copernicus?
No, what I'm saying is that we have a man over here who's trying to speak about astronomy, and he knows nothing of astronomy. I am an astronomer.
Whoa, just a minute now. I didn't claim to be an astronomer.
Well, then you shouldn't.
You claimed to be a theologian before. You quoted Jesus Christ and you knew nothing about it.
Your point is
all I said, yes, well taken. My point with you is that I'm quoting the fact, a scientific fact, that Ptolemy's concept of the world and astrology based on it was demolished by Copernicus. Is that or is that not true?
I would say that's true, yes.
That's all I said.
Okay, now let me...
Therefore, I do know something about it, don't I?
Let me explain what that has to do.
I do know something about it.
You know something of it.
Thank you very much.
You don't say a little knowledge is dangerous. Let me explain what's going on there. An astrological chart is erected from the Earth, not because we believe the Earth is at the center of the universe. The point is that it's a map of the sky from the place and time that a person's born. And since all people have been born on the Earth up to this point, the map has to be made from there. So the fact that astrological charts were done before they were aware that the sun was at the center actually made no difference on the astrological interpretation, simply because of the fact that you're drawing a map from Earth. As long as they got the sun in the right spot, it would have the same effect as far as astrology
Terry, before we close, we've got just a few minutes left. Let me ask you a question about what astrologers do. The cardinal signs, Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, are supposed to be active. This is according to Womack's 12 signs, his book on 12 signs. The fixed signs, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius, are settled. They stand fast. The mutable signs, Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, Pisces, are agreeable. They are flexible. I want to know who told the astrologers that information?
That's a very good question. First of all, you're doing sun sign astrology, which is not really scientific astrology.
So you don't believe in sun sign astrology? All the astrologers out there that are practicing that in the newspapers, we should find those guys.
As a matter of fact, astrologers frequently debate over whether the publicity that you get from the newspapers outweighs all the difficulties it creates by giving people...
Okay, Maxine, would you agree?
On what?
That sun sign astrology is out in the newspapers? We should throw that out?
No, I would not. I have the same view that Terry does. I feel that the public is interested in astrology, and if that's the only information that we can deal with, if that's the only way that we can explain it, no, it is not true astrology, but it's better than nothing.
Well, wait a minute. Is it dangerous then?
No, it is not dangerous.
You're just giving false information then?
No, I'm not giving false information, or they're not giving false information. You're giving a particum of information.
You're dividing the entire world into 12 categories. Which
so then, Terry, you would say it's okay to use that?
Well, as I said, it's a great debate. I don't really, sometimes I feel that it is. If it's done very well, the point to keep in mind is that it's not right or wrong, but it's a tremendous generalization.
Let's get into that next week, and I hope that you'll join us, because I think it'll be an interesting discussion. Welcome. I'm sure you've seen many of the magazines. Time, People have talked about what's happening in this country concerning astrology, and we wanted to look into this. Is astrology credible? Why is it that so many people are dabbling? They say 40 million Americans dabble in astrology. Maybe you do. Does it have a good foundation? Is it really scientific? Is it part of the occult? These are all questions that we're asking tonight. Does it have a relationship to Christianity? If so, what is it? If not, why? And I want to come this week, folks, to this area of what astrology is actually based on. If there is supposed to be some relationship between the planets, the stars, the sun, the heavenly bodies, and that which takes place on Earth. Different astrologers define this differently, and you're able to define it any way that you want to. I want to know, on the basic definitions of what the signs mean, and what the effect is, and how it's supposed to affect people, where did astrologers get that information? In other words, how does an astrologer know what characteristics a person born under a certain sign should have? Who told you? Terry, start us off.
Well, first of all, astrology has been studied in every major civilization on the planet for at least 5,000 or 6,000 years. I mean every major civilization. So what's going on here is there's a tremendous wealth of data. There is more data as to what particular bodies do when they're in certain places in the sky than there is data in physics or astronomy or any other field.
Hasn't that data conflicted? I mean, the Chinese horoscope and the zodiac were different than the one in Europe.
No, not at all.
They had certain signs that you didn't have in Europe.
No, not at all. Not necessarily at all.
Well, they didn't have the rat in Europe.
No. What you're talking about is the signs they use for each year in Chinese astrology.
No, that was part of their zodiac in China.
But they also use, what you see is they popularize in the press the part of Oriental astrology that's not done in Western astrology, but every part that's done in Western astrology is also done in the Oriental astrology too.
But I'm saying, okay, we've got that. Some we talked about last week, that some of it came out of Babylonia, where they said this was from the gods, and they had a polytheistic base. You don't believe that as a scientist, but I'm saying is that the definitions have kind of cruised through history, and now we've got these characteristics that seem to be arbitrarily placed on the signs, and I'm saying, why should anybody believe that those characteristics fall for those signs?
Well, I suppose from a scientific point of view, you should say probably you shouldn't just believe it. Astrology is not based on belief. It's based on information. It's based on
What is the evidence that science gives us that backs it up that
Well,
that's
I
true?
think the evidence that you're looking for is the thousands of years of collected information. As I said, for like the planet Mars, we've seen it go around 2,000 times. It's been observed in every culture by literally millions of people, and they record and they put their heads together and try and determine if there's anything that you can predict when Mars is in a certain particular place, it will have a certain type of influence. Obviously, a great deal of the information that they come up with doesn't work. The same in any scientific experiment, but over a great period of time, you begin to get a repeat in your data, and you begin to see that there are certain things that you can say about it. Now, in regards to what you said about polytheistic origins, let me point out that you could say that monotheistic religions originally, if you go back far enough, were polytheistic. There's no question. If you want to go back to 8,000...
Don't say that. Don't say that.
You have crossed over into my bailiwick.
Well, if you want to say that 8,000 or 10,000 BC, astrology sometimes surfaced as a religion, you can say that, but it hasn't been practiced by the great men of astrology that way for literally thousands of years. The point is that we're not up here representing worship of the stars. We're talking about studying it.
So your main proof for the effect of what happens to people, that under certain signs this effect should take place to certain people, is based on basically thousands of years of history.
Empirical evidence.
Okay, then why is it that all astrologers don't agree and you've got it mapped out cold?
The same reason that all scientists don't agree. If you were to take a lot of geologists into this room, they would agree on most things, but there would be
But then it's not science. See, then it's still hypothesis. A scientific theory is where people that are Hindus, Buddhists, Christians can all look at it. It's demonstrable, it's repeatable, and if they all see the evidence, then it becomes a theory.
That's what the layman thinks, but you're oversimplifying.